Allow Hunter to give his opening statement first.
Well, doesn't appear Mr. Biden showed up for his public hearing.
An empty chair sitting in for Hunter Biden after the first son ducked out of a House hearing he endlessly begged for. Explosive testimony on Capitol Hill over the Biden family's influence peddling scheme. And while Hunter didn't have the cojones to show his sorry face, the man who said Joe Biden was the brand did. Hunter's ex-biz partner, Tony Bobulinski, ripping into the Biden family.
You're presented here today with two narratives in this investigation. A false one being pushed by Joe Biden, a serial liar and fabulous, now under this impeachment investigation for public corruption. We keep hearing from certain corners that our democracy is at risk and democracy is on the ballot in 24. Yet the same people preaching this mantra know better.
Who's the big guy? Joe Biden. Are you sure about that? Because when
Jordan, Joe Biden.
You're sure?
I'm 1,000% sure.
Was Hunter Biden telling the truth when he testified under oath that his father was never involved in any of his business dealings?
No, he was not. Those are all blatant lies.
Democrats unleashing some of the sharpest legal minds in the country to bulldoze Tony Bobulinski's claims.
Once again, we're back to a hearing where no evidence is being provided of any sort of wrongdoing by the president. But I want to go back.
That's a
Mr.
blatant
Bobulinski.
lie.
Actually, it's my time, sir.
You remember that, right?
The infamous email with the big guy? Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
Did anyone ever respond to that email?
Yes, they did, numerous times.
Sorry.
Hunter Biden himself did.
Excuse me. You're right.
Well, no, I think that's important because
Sir,
Hunter
did
Biden
anyone
has
ever
claimed that he didn't
Can you answer my
respond to it,
questions?
and he responded to
Okay.
it. I believe
You're just
3
going to
times.
filibuster. I reclaim my time that's running out.
It is simple. You name the crime. Did you watch him steal something?
Corruption statutes, RICO, and conspiracy.
What is it? What is the crime, sir?
You
Specifically,
wait, you asked me to answer the question. I answered the question.
RICO is not a crime. It is a category.
Judge, that was hilarious.
Oh, my God, I can't.
So Hunter says he was going to show and doesn't. Was that a smart move or a dumb move?
Well, look, in a courtroom, the way you assess the truth is who has the most to lose and who has the most to gain, okay? And the issue here is foreign actors who are seeking to gain access to the United States and the United States government. Now, if someone has lied in the past, you are free to disregard all of their testimony. So the man who insisted on testifying in public for fear that his answers might be taken out of context or they might be misinterpreted and actually pulls a stunt outside of Congress and doesn't show up, actually now pulls another political stunt and doesn't show up for a public testimony. So now we know that the Bidens, in addition to being crooks, are cowards. So let's talk about Bobulinski. Bobulinski is a military man from a military family who put their lives on the line to protect the United States. Where you have the Bidens, who are a family that have lied incessantly about this international fund and have done nothing but profit by money from foreign countries into shell corporations. And, you know, we know the Bidens are liars because they used Anthony Blinken, who was then a Democrat operative, to line up 51 intel agents to tell us that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation, which all it does is corroborate the international scheme that they were doing. And here's the bottom line. Hunter Biden was a foreign agent when his father was vice president. Joe Biden allowed him to be a foreign agent without registering as one, and even flew him and his partners abroad. They took money from foreign countries when they lied and said they didn't, including China, and the Biden family was the conduit. And everything from the laptop to the photographs to the WhatsApp. And by the way, this last guy, Jason Galanis, the guy who's in prison right now, who's facing 14 years, what motive does he have to lie by implicating the Bidens? I can tell you right now that the Biden Department of Justice is not looking to give this guy any cut on the time he's been ordered to serve.
Jesse, congratulations on the second day of your book.
Thank you very much, Greg.
I hear nothing but things.
Thank you. It's called Get It Together.
Right,
and
that's
you can
right.
still get it right now.
Yes, yeah, I hear it's sold out. Don't bother. That's what I was told.
Please.
So this is, well, you know what frustrates me about this whole thing? And that clip just reminds me, this is yet another day of arguing over who the big guy is. Why are we still arguing when we know? I mean, everybody knows who the big guy is. Why is this a bone of contention?
Well, they have to contest everything because right now their answer is there's no evidence. So apparently it's okay to bribe a politician's family, and not just their family, their grandchildren, their son, their brother. And they say, oh, well, you know, Joe Biden didn't do anything in exchange for any of this stuff. Oh, okay, he just greased regulations. He just dropped sanctions. He only just flew his son to all these places to cut deals. He only got the kids into college. I mean, what didn't he do? He had him at the White House, the Naval Observatory. He was on the phone with them. He took meetings with them. And then they say, oh, well, you can't name any crime. And then they just rattle off a slew of crimes: RICO, foreign corrupt practices, bribery, FARA violations. And then they say, oh, you know, there's nothing suspicious going on. Well, then why does Joe have an alias? Why does he have a burner phone? Why are his donors paying his family's back taxes? Why are millions in dollars in cash missing? Why are diamonds missing? We still don't even have the offshore bank accounts. We still don't even have the credit card statements. We're even just getting started. And then they say, oh, well, you don't see any evidence that any of that money went to Joe Biden. Well, actually, they under deposition, under oath, Hunter Biden was asked specifically, well, how many times did you pay your father's household expenses? Over 100? And Hunter says, well, I don't know. I don't know. Over 100 times he paid his dad's business expenses, his household expenses. And then they have the check for 40 grand, which went from China to the Bidens to Joe's bank account. Joe said it was a loan. And then his own accountant testified under oath that there was no evidence that it was a loan. And then they say, well, you know, you don't have any proof. And then they start reading off text messages. We need Joe Biden to help us get across the finish line with the China deal. Chinese are doing this deal to be in business with my family. Don't mention the big guy being involved because he's paranoid. Pay me the money. My dad's sitting right here. We're selling the Biden brand, and then hold 10 for the big guy. So you just can't say there's no evidence when there's a mountain of it. It was obvious that the Chinese were bribing the Biden family through Hunter, who was selling access to his dad for cash, diamonds, and cars. Case closed, Jessica Tarlov.
All right, Dana.
Yes.
And Jessica, I'm going to try something different. I'm thinking of a number of 1 to 20. The person closest to it gets to go next, while the other one waxes my car.
13.
Jessica?
7.
Ah, you win, Dana.
I go first?
Meet me after the show.
Oh, I at least get to finish the show. I thought this was a new way to get me to not be able to speak.
No, so now he doesn't like being in front of the camera, Hunter Biden.
You asked the judge what I thought was a really good question about, was it smart for Hunter not to be there today? Mm-hmm. I think that in a way, because of Abby Lowell, his lawyer, he's been pretty smart, right? Because he's given everybody the runaround. Mm-hmm. And he's just hoping to run out the clock. So he doesn't show up today. They have this hearing. What if, like, tomorrow's like, well, I'll show up in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Right? And then a couple weeks later, we replow the same ground over and over again.
I do this with the HR harassment meetings.
Exactly. Exactly. And you just give them the runaround. What he's hoping for, I think what they're hoping for, is run out the clock. They hope that Joe Biden will get reelected, and they hope that then this will all go away. I also think it's pretty interesting. They have this, the Democrats are talking about the true squad line. And what's interesting about this is that if you see how they were doing it today, do you think that they really want to defend Hunter Biden, who at the time was a drug addict with shady business deals? I don't think the Democrats really want to spend their time doing that. My last point is, I think Tony Bobulinski is a very likable person. This is a guy like, I would love to get a beer with that guy. And he came today, he's like, you know what? Why is my life under a microscope? Why am I the one that has to go through all of this without any support from people who say that they want to seek the truth? And I believe, as you told me this morning on America's Newsroom when you were selling Get It Together,
That's right,
that he's never even been interviewed by the FBI. So why is that?
Why is that,
Yeah,
Jessica? What have you to say for yourself?
As Christopher Wray himself sitting here live on our set, I can tell you. In the green room earlier, we were talking about a new drinking game.
Yes.
Right? Every time Jesse says diamonds, we take a drink. And I have to wait a few more weeks before I can have my shots. But you got there pretty quick.
Yes.
This was another day where it was readily apparent that James Comer and the Republicans are not ready for prime time, let alone 10 a.m., which is when everyone stopped paying attention to this. Comer has been told, and Jim Jordan has been told, in nearly every interview that they've done, hey, maybe you could tell us what's actually going on here. Where's the money transfer? Put up or shut up. And they don't have it. And that's why this continues. And again, I would hate it if I didn't get to sit between the two of you every day, but you would be so much better at running these hearings than these Republicans who are just saying the same tired line.
I'm not happy about that compliment.
Why? It was like the nicest thing I've ever said to you. And I would miss you. So Hunter wasn't there based on the letter that his lawyer released about this because James Comer told him on January 10th, you don't actually need to do something like this. A deposition works for us. And then Hunter Biden sat down for 6 hours with them and never pled the fifth. He answered all their questions. To your points about Tony Bobulinski being this great guy, serving our country, a military family, military man, I certainly would think that we could all agree that people in Joe Biden's family, like his son Beau Biden, served our country, and that serving in the Senate as the vice president and the president is also duty and service to the country. In terms of Bobulinski's veracity of his testimony, our own Wall Street Journal went through his text messages and emails and found that there was no credible link between these foreign governments giving money to get something out of Joe Biden when he was vice president, when he was out of office, et cetera. And also, Tony Bobulinski,
Wait a minute.
the Wall Street Journal.
Said what?
Okay.
What year was that?
What?
Was that in the fall of 2016 or 2020?
No. We'll have to pull up the articles about it, but
because
they
there's
went
a lot
through.
we learned since
It doesn't.
then.
It
I
does
don't buy
make
that.
sense because there is not the clear line that you guys have been alleging.
Yes, there
between
is.
This.
You just need to put pieces together.
All right, it's the
and
most
that's what the
complicated puzzle I've
Democrats
ever
are
seen.
you so simple that you cannot
I am
put
old
together a
enough.
circumstantial case where you take a piece from here, a piece from there, the money goes there. This isn't an eyewitness.
Okay. Tony Bobulinski's lawyers' fees have been paid by a Trump super PAC. That's as recent as January. Do you think that a guy who's invested in how much better off he wants the United States to be and really getting to the bottom of this would be taking money from the guy who extorted the Ukrainians to get dirt on the Bidens? And we should talk about Lev Parnas, who's the Democratic witness.
He extorted the Ukrainians?
Who absolutely
Biden extorted the Ukrainians and said, I'm not giving you $1 billion of taxpayers' money. Let's get straight on this.
I am the straightest, this is not about my sexual orientation, that I have ever been on this.
I got to move on.
Lev Parnas testified that Lindsey Graham asked him to go find Shokin and bring him back to talk about him. He also testified that Rudy Giuliani, Donald Trump, and Bill Barr, who I've not heard talked about that much in this, were all in cahoots to make sure that we could extort the Ukrainians to get evidence so that Donald Trump could win in 2020. That is the scandal here.
That's the scandal.
It is, and the diamonds coming out of my hair.
That's the scandal.
We're done.
We got to move on. That was fun, though.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.